Alright, furry convention story time, but this is the story of how I almost had my phone stolen while attending Further Confusion 2023. It wasn't on the convention premises, in fact it was like 4 blocks away from the event. It involves no furries at all besides I guess me, and nothing bad happened, but I do panic about this from time to time. I don't know, maybe this video is some coping mechanism that I have, but still, it's a funny story in hindsight, and I hope you all can learn something from it. So for context, if you don't know about the convention Further Confusion, it takes place in San Jose, California, usually at the beginning of January. I actually went this year because I've been wanted to for a long time with friends. I went this year because last year they canceled and I wanted to go and enjoy it, and I heard that it was a really good foodie convention. Out of all the furry conventions that I've been to, Further Confusion, also known as FC, you're gonna hear FC a lot in this video, has the best food options at pretty much any time of the day. All you have to do is walk a few blocks away from the convention and you're pretty much at this entire street of food. You got Hoagie Stakeout, make some amazing hoagies and sandwiches. I had their chopped cheese and oh my lord, it was to die for. Right next to Hoagie Stakeout, you have the Boba Bar, which makes some amazing lattes and boba, like their creme brulee latte. Oh, it was not easy on my wallet, but it was easy on my stomach. It was great. I loved it. And then next to that, you got the Nest, which is an Asian bistro, has some amazing Asian cuisine. The garlic noodles are also to die for. Granted, you know, it's a lot of garlic, so know that getting into it. And then right around the corner, if you are up at like 2 a.m. and you are craving anything to eat, you have La Victoria's Taqueria. The amount of times where like I'd end the day going to La Vic's with friends at FC was insane. It was such a fun experience. Like, come on, how can you say no to this burrito? It is so good. I'm so happy with it. It was such a good con for food. I've never had a more delicious furry convention experience than FC. Actually, that phrase doesn't sound great. It sounds like I'm talking about Vor when that's not the case. But I was looking through a bunch of these photos and feeling nostalgic. I stopped on one and thought, oh, right, that happened like moments before this picture. Yeah, that's not a good memory, but it's also like I did learn something that day that could have ended horribly. So to start the story, it's the first day of Further Confusion. I'm hanging out with friends. I'm also really tired because I've been traveling pretty much all of the day prior, and it was getting to be around dinner time where we were hanging around with friends. I had my fursuit head with me for some reason. I think I just wanted to take fursuit photos. Eventually we want to go and get food, so we leave the convention space. We walk a few blocks up the street to this whole strip of these restaurants where we can get pretty much whatever we want. So while we were heading up, I had my phone in one hand, my fursuit head in the other, while I was walking across the street in the middle of San Jose, California. I know a lot of you are probably shaking your heads at this thinking, Beta, what are you doing? And that's a good question. I don't know what I was doing at that moment in time. So I took this photo right outside Hoagie Stakeout. You got Raiden looking fabulous and suave as always. Look at that leg cross. Look at how fancy he's being. I see you, Raiden. I see what you're doing. But right after I took this photo, into frame steps the problematic individual of this story. I don't know who to call her. In fact, I don't know her name at all because the interaction was no more than 20 seconds. But let's just call her Sarah in this case. And Sarah, I don't know, something looked very sketchy about how she initiated whatever dialogue option I had randomly unlocked in my life in that moment, because I didn't recognize this until after. But she was just walking along, stopped, and it's if like a switch flicked, and she just started acting immediately. Like went from like just chill and then went, oh man, does anyone have the time on them? Like saying this to our group as we're walking up to these restaurants. It seemed very staged, but these thoughts weren't going through my head till like months after this event happened. It seemed a bit overacted, but you know, me being sleep deprived and hungry and agitated, I wasn't really thinking about that at the moment. Most of my friends were just like, nope, don't have the time on us, bye. And I was just like, it's 6:30 because I had my phone right there, I checked. Little did I know that even responding would set things up for a bad situation. She went, oh man, I was supposed to meet my mom for dinner. Could I borrow your phone and like call her, please? Like in that tone as well. The only thing that I could evaluate from the situation in that moment was that she was smoking 3 cigarettes all at once, like 2 in her fingers and 1 in her mouth, which you can take that as you'd like. But the vibes I was getting from her seemed very sketchy. And even though I was hesitant, I still like helping people. You know, in the moment I was thinking, you know, people can't be that bad, right? You know, she clearly needs help. Who am I to deny help? It's, you know, just let her borrow my phone. Nothing bad could happen. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm looking over at my friend Nick, who's off to the side, looking at me, shaking his head frantically. And as I'm standing there kind of silent, mulling everything over, he pulls me away into the restaurant before anything else happened. First off, I just want to say, Nick, you're a lifesaver. Thank you. I did not know what I was doing. It took me about half a minute after I walked into the restaurant for me to realize, holy shit, that situation was bad. If I said yes and lent her my phone, there was a very good chance she was gonna book it and run with it, and I would be without a phone. And ever since then, I've been thinking about it over and over in my head of just like, what if I said yes? If I said yes, like the whole convention would have been ruined for me, and that would have been, you know, my own own doing in that case. I would have been without a phone. A phone's a lot of money too. And I would have tried to trust someone. Like, I want to trust someone else in the world, some stranger. But no, it would have been a very bad situation if I had, and I would have hated myself more and more. Like, I just think about these things with regards to this small event or this situation that happened. And it's scary. So I don't know, maybe this video is some form of venting or coping with life. I don't know if you call this trauma per se, because nothing happened, realistically speaking, Like, I can't say whether or not she had bad intentions with what she was doing. This could be also me seeing just the good in people and not realizing some people do have bad intentions. You can't tell those intentions, but you gotta be careful about them. The lesson here is, one, don't talk to strangers. When you're traveling, be sure to travel with friends. If I was going alone to get food, I would have been screwed. When you are out and about, especially in like a downtown area, go with friends. If you're going to get food or if you're going to travel around, take someone with you. And just in general, when you are traveling around in a place that you don't know, just be careful, be conscientious of what's going on around you. I remember there was some recommended rule of like, when you are going around in a city, you don't wear like headphones or earbuds or something. I can't remember where I heard that, but I remember someone saying that and it kind of made sense. Be on high alert. Don't do what I was doing where you're holding your fursuit head in one hand and your phone in the other. Don't have your phone out and about. I remember another friend telling me that like when you are trying to get from one place to another, that you don't make it obvious that you don't know where you are and that you're a tourist, where you have your phone out and you're trying to follow your GPS, because then apparently you become a target or something. I don't fully know what that means, but it makes sense. Still, the point of all of this is just be careful about where you're going and who you're with and what you're doing. So I guess when you're going to a furry convention, maybe research the area you're going to beforehand. Even just researching it for like local restaurants is good, but researching it on like different routes that you can take that are like the safest and people that you can go with to these restaurants or other places. That's pretty much really it. Just be safe and don't do really anything I did in that whole story. So yeah, that's the story of how I attended my first furry convention in California and almost got my phone stolen because I was an idiot. But to me, that was probably the scariest thing that has happened to me at a furry convention. Not at the convention itself, but while I was attending during the weekend, it was happening. And the rest of the con was a wonderful time. I didn't think much of what happened until after all the fun had ended, until now where I'm processing it even still. And even though I'm mainly over it, for some reason, my dreams still tell me otherwise. But still, to Sarah, whoever you are out there, take care of yourself. That's all I'll say. I mean, I guess there's another lesson here, because like, I very much like helping people, even if I don't know them. Like in this case, despite my fair warnings, I still wanted to help with whatever she needed help with within my reasonability of doing so. And so I was thinking like, oh, you just need to borrow my phone. That's easy. So I wasn't thinking clearly about potentially bad intentions and that people could have bad intentions. It's a bit naive of me to think of that. This is one of those cases where being too nice is like not good. Either way, that's pretty much my story. And to me, it is probably the scariest thing to have happened during a time I was attending a furry convention. It was off property, but it was still in San Jose. Regardless of that though, Further Confusion was a great con. I had an excellent time and I highly recommend that convention if you're looking for a nice place to travel and you want a good place that has good food. It is the foodie convention for me. If I want to eat some delicious food and go to a furry convention, I'm going to FC, which I will likely try and go again next year. So yeah, nothing bad happened, nothing good happened. This video is pointless, haha! But either way, that's about going to do it for me. Hope you all enjoyed whatever this story time ended up being. I know it was a lot of rambling and talking about food and having a weird food critic moment, but you know what? I like furry conventions. A story like this shouldn't all just be doom and gloom, because it was a very stressful and panic-inducing and sad moment. But all in all, it was such a small, insignificant thing that happened during such an amazing time that entire weekend. But yeah, just remember your street smarts. That's the word I was looking for. Street smarts. Remember your street smarts. That's like the big thing with this whole video. Even at furry conventions, especially at furry conventions. Not to say anything like this would happen at the event, but just in the surrounding area. Because when you're at a furry convention, you're not just gonna want to stay in the hotel or at the convention space. Like if you're in the middle of a downtown area, you're gonna want to get some food nearby and maybe explore a bit of it. I know a lot of furries that take like a day or something before or after the convention in like Midwest Fur Fest to explore a bit of downtown Chicago. Denver, Furpok, all these wonderful cons. There are so many cons that have local amenities and restaurants or places to eat that you can enjoy. So do that, but just be conscientious of where you are and who you're with. Have a good time, but keep your street smarts. That's really it. But yeah, that's about gonna do it for me. Hopefully you all learned something from this whole story. I know I did from experiencing it, and even talking about it now, I learned something new about all this. So yeah, that's pretty neat. But yeah, I've got nothing else. Hope you all have a good one. Stay safe. safe, and especially stay life jacket. Take care.